Hello everyone, thank you for coming to our Novedge webinar today. Today's webinar, Industrial Design and Reverse Engineering in SolidWorks with award-winning Power Surfacing RE. Power surfacing is a powerful industrial design tool for creating complex organic geometry inside of SolidWorks. Power surfacing is fully integrated with SolidWorks, and in this webinar, we will demonstrate the exciting new features in the 4.1 version. And who's doing the demo today is Sue Blackman, a 3D artist, author, and educator specializing in combining game technology with CAD data. She has been involved with the development of 3D applications, training material, and workflow analysis for well over a decade. But before we get going, here's an overview of what we do in Novedge. Novedge is one of the largest online stores for design software. We offer a huge assortment of software solutions that cater to virtually every designer's needs. So come visit us at novedge.com. And for more daily software news and limited time promotions, check out our Novedge blog and follow us on Facebook, Google+, and Twitter. Coming up in 2 weeks, creating large-scale environments with ForcePack. Last but not least, today's webinar is recorded, and if you want to rewatch it, you just need to go on our Novedge YouTube or Vimeo channels. And now, without further ado, I'm gonna share Sue's screen.
Okay, let me choose that as soon as I find my cursor. Okay, SolidWorks 2017. All right, there we go.
Okay, let's see. Okay, here we go. We see you perfectly, Sue. Take it away.
Okay, so we're all ready. Okay, so this is our 4.1 version, long waited for, and we've got some really nice things we've added to it. And I'm going to kind of zip through them, and we'll be able to go into more detail during questions and stuff like that if you need to. So I think one of the nicest things we have now is we now have an official macro. We actually create a SolidWorks body, and that allows us to do several things. One of which is we can work with more sub-D objects at the same time in the same edit session. So I'm going to go into, I'm going to go ahead and I'll import a fin for my fish. And when I do that, when I import something to a part file that I've already have open, I want to first tell it I'm going to bring in my OBJ, and under options, I want to make sure that I say import to current document. Otherwise, it would open a new one. So we're going to bring in the fin. And if I zoom out, there he is right there. Go ahead and select it. Actually, what I want to do for selecting is I want to switch to select by element. That's going to make a few things easier. I'm also going to switch from control mode look to sub-D. And because it was imported and could have been a very heavy model for some of the use, I need to bump up my subdivisions to our normal 3. So I'll go ahead and I'll pop this guy in here. Now, since we can deal with multiple separate objects in our sub-D edit mode now, we now can clone them. So I'll clone this guy over here, take him over here, maybe I'll scale him up a little bit. And I'll go to this guy and I'll do another clone. I'll bring it over here. Maybe this guy needs to be, that's kind of okay. And I can go ahead and edit them. Maybe I've decided that this one should point that way and something like that. Maybe this guy needs to be a little skinnier or something. So anyway, so I've got 3 separate objects in here. And one of the things I didn't mention that I really want to mention is that when we're working with power surfacing, what we want to do is we want to go up to Tools, Power Surfacing, and under Options, make sure that you turn on disable SolidWorks blocking. That's what allows us to actually see the SolidWorks other parts in there, the other bodies. And we also want to turn on show SolidWorks, but actually this is the one that does that, show SolidWorks bodies while editing a sub-D. And the other one is going to allow us to turn off the visibility and turn it back on while we're inside the sub-D edit mode. So I've already done that. So now I've got my 3 objects here, and I'll go ahead and accept. And sometimes we have, sometimes you'll see a warning issue, but it's generally nothing you need to worry about. If something doesn't convert right, then you can go back and check it. Usually it's just the shape of the control mesh, not the actual sub-D. So there we go, I've got it. And if you look now, those of you who have tried doing this before, you would have had a master and children and all kinds of stuff. Now we just have a single power feature, which is really nice. And we could go in and we could say, let's go and combine them. And did I say make it? Yeah, solid. I haven't attached the eye, so we'll not worry about him. And I could go ahead and I could put fillets on it, like so. And then if I'd said, okay, well, I'm female, that gives me the right to go back and change my mind, because I might. So I can go back into my power feature, go into edit mode, and I could say, well, this one really needs to be more like that or something, I don't know. So you still have control of all of your separate elements inside the power body. So I'm going to exit now. And there we go. So that makes our workflow a lot easier for dealing with some of the more tricky sort of things that you want to model. So now the other big thing, one of the biggest things on our request list, is that we can now edit and work with assemblies. So I'm going to I'm going to open it up somewhere else, I guess. Okay, open. And ooh, I don't see it now. I seem to have lost something. And I've got that stuff in the way. Let me try again. I'm really not sure where it went. Gary, I've lost my whole assembly folder. I wonder if this got renamed or something. Okay, now I see the folder got renamed, so we're okay. Okay, so we've now got an assembly here. Or actually, yeah, it's an assembly, and we're going to insert some components. And I see what happened, the whole folder got renamed, no wonder. So I'm going to bring in a knob here, because I like knobs. And I'm going to zoom in. And I want to select a vertex on that guy. And also on my existing part, do my mate thing. Just popped it down and go ahead and accept that one. Oops, wait a minute. Okay, worked a few minutes ago. Let's try it again. I think I just clicked on something when I shouldn't have. Okay, so mated, accept, yeah, I clicked where I shouldn't have last time. And right now, if I move this, you can see the vertices are mated, but the rest isn't. So I'll just pick surface and and I'm good to go. So now my knob spins nicely, but it doesn't lift off. But I'm looking at it going, well, you know, it doesn't really fit that very well. So I'm going to go back in and edit this sub D. So I'll accept that mate. So I want to go in and first I'll edit the part file. And then I'll look into my power feature and go into edit on it. And what I want to do is I want to do a constraint on this part from another file. So I'll go over to my power surfacing and import reference, and I'm going to pick the outside of that cylinder and use that as a reference surface. And then I'll go in and I will select my edges. It's kind of hard to see, but now I've got all the edges around the outside of the bottom here selected, and I'm going to constrain to edge. And there we go, all nice and constrained. If I wanted to, I could kind of shift this up or down. I could change that. I think I'll leave it as is for now. And I'll go ahead and accept and convert my sub D. And we'll finish edit mode from the part file, and there we go. So that one, that's been one of the most requested features, is being able to work with the assemblies and work with our sub Ds. And we could pull in other knobs and stuff in here and do as many as we wanted. Okay, so that was one of the big ones. Another really nice feature that we've added, and this one kind of snuck in, but I think will be appreciated. Okay, don't save. And for this, we want G2 and constraint. Okay, here it is, right here. So we've got this funny looking knob on here. And what I want to do is I'm going to turn on Zebra so you guys can see what this one looks like right now. So this is with regular tangency. And you can see that although it's smooth, it's not as smooth as if it was curvature continuous. So you can see, we can see a corner here where the stripes change direction. So that's one of the things I want to show you on this. So I'm going to go ahead and go into my sub D, and as a default, so right now we're using face constraint, so it's constraining to the outside of the cylinder here, which we've chosen as our reference. But if we pull this down, the tangency, you can see it's starting to blob out here because it's trying to stay tangent down here to the surface where it comes in. And one of the new things we've added is a means of changing that to G2 curvature or curvature continuous. And we do that through our override constraint. So we're going to go back into this constraint, and instead of having it tangent to surface, we're going to say, ooh, curvature continuity. And we'll accept that. And now if I turn it sideways, you can see that it smoothly comes down and curves right into that. And if I pull that same bunch of vertices back up, you can see it's still going to stay nice and smooth on that. And now if I accept this and convert it, still looks pretty good. But right now, those of you who've used this before, one of the other new things we have is we have an automatic way to do the trim and knit that's required to put this thing together. So I'm going to go back into that edit mode, and on feature creation settings under post-processing, we're going to say delete and knit. So what it's going to do is it's going to trim and knit this into a copy of this surface, and then it's going to do a surface replace, and everything should be all nice and tidy for us. And there it is. Now, probably curious about what the zebra looks like, so let's go look at that real quickly. And here it is. And you can see the difference between the curvature continuous is that this stripe is always smoothly going into the rest of it. So that's a really nice feature. Now the other thing that's a big improvement, which I dearly love, is that we can now go back, and if we want to adjust something from one of the SolidWorks parts, so say maybe I want to give it a little draft or a lot of draft, as soon as that one's finished, all the rest of this updates. So we don't have to go in and update the sub-D separately and trim and knit again or anything like that. So that's a really nice improvement on workflow on that one. Okay, so what else am I going to show you? I got lots of stuff. Don't say it. Okay, so the next one is, where is top rig? Here it is. The next one is we've made some really nice improvements on helping you quadize or chop up a face into little four-sided faces. And so I'm going to go ahead and go into edit mode here. And originally, if we picked an edge and from the right-click menu chose face fill, it would have filled it, but there would have been no sectioning of it. It would have been just one single solid face, which can be problematic. But now if I click this, it automatically goes and adds all our topography there. Now, topology, sorry. I can use my curve tool on this. You can see it's trying to copy the curvature that it inherits from the first two rows out here, but it's not doing that well just because of the design of all the faces. But I can accept it as is, and one of our new really nice tools here is quadize, and it's going to go through and remodel this, and so it allows that curvature to come back up, which is a really nice thing. Okay, so that's a good one. We'll go ahead. And there we are. Let's close this guy. Don't save. Now the next one, for those of you guys, I don't know how many of you guys have been using the constraints, but one of our customers presented us with a very interesting problem, and that is that he needed to be able to constrain to different types of, well, surfaces. So I've got this one, this little test piece we made. We'll go into edit mode on that. And just give you a look at this thing. So I've already got my constraint surfaces selected. And I'll go ahead and select all the edges. I've got all my edges here. And I'm going to set them to constrain to edge, which it does. But the problem is, if we look closely, we can see that because the default is tangent, you see that especially like this one here is really swooping in to make itself tangent, and the back is probably worse than it looks, but it's trying to do the same thing. It's trying to figure out how to be tangent to something that should be perpendicular to. So we can go in to, I'm going to go ahead and select my edges here, the ones that shouldn't be tangent. And I'll override the tangency just on them. So override constraint. Right now they're tangent, but as soon as I set them, I could say perpendicular, but I think in this case I'm going to set it to no tangency, which should be just fine. And there it goes, and you can see now it's looking much better there. Now what isn't looking better, and you may or may not notice it till it's kind of late, but if we look up here, we've got a problem where it comes into this corner. We've got some rough stuff here. And what needs to happen here is we need to go and we need to have this little vertex and say, well, make him a hard edge. And you can see as soon as we do that, everything falls into line. So we would go through and select all of these corner vertices where tangency meets no tangency, and make them all 100% weighted. And that pops them in, and we can convert. And then, of course, you could do the whole knit thing, create solid, and there you go. So it's kind of a complex constraint, and but it's very powerful in that you can work your sub-D to connect between a lot of different sort of things. Okay, let's see what our next one is here. Override. Okay, so this next one, draw on planes, here it is here. This next one is kind of a different way to block in your sub-D, and I've started with this guy already. So I'll go back into my edit mode, and you would use this one. There's a lot of different types of things that it's good for modeling on. Normally I might have a picture on one of these planes, and I might have a sketch plane, or a sketch on a plane. Wait a minute, let me rephrase that. An image on a sketch plane. But this time I'm just going freeform onto some different planes. Now, what it doesn't do is it doesn't do a constraint. So right now my first bunch of sub-D faces are on the top plane, and it looks like they're snapped to the front plane, but they aren't really. So I should go here and I should select them. And then here's one of the reasons why you want to turn off that blocking, the SolidWorks blocking, is because I want to be able to go in here and select this plane at the same time. And now I can go up to alignment and snap to plane. And may or may not have noticed, but now those vertices have snapped to that one. They're not constrained to it, but they are snapped to it. So the nice thing about draw on plane, and we kind of got spoiled from the RE section where you could draw faces directly onto a surface, and we said, well, yeah, that would be useful to start regular sub-Ds. So now I've got the option to create by drawing on plane. Now I've got my front plane already selected, so I'm in good shape here. And now I can go ahead and draw on here. And there we go. Now right now you're seeing control mesh, so I'll right click to finish this. And if you wanted to retain these creases, you probably want to select these two edges, set them to 100% weighted. And then if we looked at it in sub-D mode, that's what we've got. And from there you could do whatever you want with it. You could extrude it, thicken it, you could do all sorts of things. But that one's a nice one for, like, especially people who do cars and stuff. They like to start with it all on one plane and just draw directly on it, and this will let you do that. Okay, so let's see what else we've got. Okay, so here was another thing that's been requested a lot, and so I'm going to open your knob. So you've seen this knob before, but what I want you to notice is, look at the edges on this. We've got edges on the top where we've got more interesting shapes going, but very clean down here. And if we go into the sub-D, you'll see what it looks like. So two things going on. One is we are now able to do periodic surfaces. In other words, it's going to wrap around without any edges wherever it can. And then the other thing is, backed by popular demand, for those who missed it, was that when we have a flat surface that's been defined as a flat surface, it is going to not only convert without edges in the middle of it, but once again, it is recognized by SolidWorks as a flat surface, and we could create a sketch on it. So that was kind of a nice one to have back. Okay. Now, another thing we've done a lot of work with is offsets and constraints. So in this little guy, I've got a sub D that I've just blocked in, and I've kind of made it about the right shape. I've got my surface here that I want it to constrain to. It's already been selected. So I'll go ahead and I'll use constrain to face. You see, it sucks right down on there. And if I decided to move any of it, it would get reconstrained like so. But the fun thing now is, besides just the constraint, and I'll go ahead and select these again, because that's where our constraint surface is, we can go to the override, and now we can offset it. So if you have something that you need to match a surface, this is very much like SolidWorks offset. So now I can offset it. I got it offset a little bit there. We'll say accept. And better yet, now we can go up to Tools, and we can use a thicken on it. And the thicken inherits that same offset. Oh, I seem to have forgotten everything. Wait a minute. Yeah, I missed some of them. Let's cancel that. Okay, got them all. So the nice thing about thicken too is that now we'll work on just selected faces, not the entire piece. So there's my thicken, and I can decide, okay, that looks like a good thickness there. And it has also inherited that constraint. So if I change that, everything changes to match the constraint and the offset and the thickness. So we get the whole ball of wax here. We can go in and mess around with stuff individually, like maybe I want these guys to be scaled in. So they retain the offset and the constraint, but yet they're not tied to the bottom. So you can do a lot of modeling, nice modeling things. And the cool thing is now that I could go back in, and I'll select this outer surface, and I could go back into my override constraint, and its thickness is now living there, so it is parametric, and I could change it however I wanted. And I could select the inner surface and change its offset as well. So a lot of power in that. A lot of other tools that are also using some of that same technology, so it's a really nice addition. Okay, let's see, what else have we got here? Oh, converting. No, I didn't need to convert it. Cancel. Yeah. Cancel. Close. Don't save. Okay. And here's another popular request we've had. And this is another one that deals with constraints. And that is mirror and constraints. So, you know, if you've used constraints and you like mirror, you've probably tried it and discovered that whatever was constrained on this side is everything all ends up constrained to the same piece, and you've kind of got a tangled up mess. Well, we've got it changed now. It now can do constraints and mirroring at the same time. In fact, I've even got two different kinds of constraints I'm going to show you. So go ahead and go into edit mode on this guy. I've already got my constraint surfaces selected, this guy and this one. This is the live side of the mirror. As you can see, the other side is not live, but I'm going to go ahead and select my edges down there and constrain to edge, like so. And the mirror side is behaving well. And then I'm also going to constrain on the front surface. So we've got two different kinds of constraint here. Well, actually, they're both to edge, but two different places. That's another one that if we zoom in, we can see that it's trying to do tangency. So it's a good idea to go into override, and you know, maybe we'll tell this one to be perpendicular, like so. And because it's a mirror, changes we make on one side happen to the other. So let's convert it. So here's the great part now. Whereas where constraints were not supported with mirror before, they are now. So that's going to be a great time saver for a lot of you guys out there who make a lot of symmetrical stuff. Okay, we're waiting and waiting. I may kill it because I'm not patient enough here. There's constraints take a lot more time to, oh, no, here it comes. As I said, I'm not very patient. So there again, we could go ahead and knit the pieces together to get a solid, but it's really nice to be able to use both mirror and constraints without losing either one. Okay, let's close this guy. And now we're going to get over to the RE side, and we've got some really cool stuff there. And for that one, let's see, this is an OBJ. So I'm going to open it up, and I'm going to pull in my reference mesh. It's an OBJ, so I want to bring it in as an OBJ reference mesh. And that would be Acorn Base. And this is a sort of a messy scan. Some of it's okay, but some of it isn't, which is going to give us a lot of other stuff we can do. Tell it what the units were on it. So the thing's pretty complicated. And when we first got this thing in, I tried to start doing it by hand, and I finally said, no, that is a waste of my time. I don't want to have to do that. So we now have something called quad wrap. It's the auto wrapping answer. Now you might say, oh, that was pretty quick. Okay, I couldn't even do that by hand that quick. So you look at it though and you go, well, that's not real accurate, because right now it's on a 4% for the size. So I'm going to drop it down to maybe 2%. And we should start seeing here less stuff coming through. You can see that. So it starts to get slower here, so I'm going to turn off both the vertices and the edges on it, which also lets you see more detail. And maybe I'll go down to 1% on this one. Now the problem with getting too tight onto your reference mesh is if it was a messy reference mesh, you're going to get the messy stuff along with it. So as soon as this thing's finished doing its 1%, I'll show you how some of the changes we've made that make cleaning up a reference mesh really nice. Okay, so here's our 1%. And you might say, well, there's a little funky stuff in here, but actually a lot of that funky stuff is on the reference mesh itself. So I'm going to go ahead and cancel this guy. I'm going to show you, here's one of the little nasty bits on this, and it's got this little chunk hanging out here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to edit my reference mesh, and I'll start by just maybe selecting that little bit there. And that's kind of too much. I'm going to do that again. Okay, that's better. And I'll use my expand to expand my selection down a little bit. And I'm going to delete that piece, like so. Now that would confuse a lot of things, having a hole there. So I'm going to paint around the edge of this. And then I'm going to go into edit mode on just this selection. So what this gives us is it gives us basically a little piece of sub D to work on, and with that comes all the tools that you can use. So I'm going to go ahead and fill it with my quad fill there, and right click. Let's see, that's pretty good. Yeah, so I'll go ahead and accept it. And so now I've filled one nasty bit. I got another one over here. This one even has a cave inside it. It was such a bad part of the scan. So I'm going to select more of this guy. And I'll go into edit mode with him. And I think I'm going to do paint face on that. And I'll just select the parts I want to delete. Might have gotten a little too far on that one. So I'll control it off. And go ahead and delete it. Fill it in again. Let's not use paint selection for that. And there we have a nice little fill. Although maybe it's not that nice, you know, I should probably delete a few more of these. But the other thing we can do is we can do a relax on it. And the relax lets you make a selection and then dial it up and down till you get the look you want. So that's one I've been using an awful lot lately too. So accept that, accept this guy. We're back to our reference mesh. And here's one of the nice bits too, is now, so you spend some time and you're cleaning up this reference mesh and you know you'll be using it for other things. We now have it so you can go up to your tools, power surfacing, and hold on there, save. And we can save the reference mesh. So you can do a lot of repair on it and not lose it. You know, you'll have it available anytime you need it for any other files. So I think that's one of our really nice features that we've added. Okay, now what have I got here? Interpolate options. Okay, so another thing we've done in RE, let's go ahead and close this guy. Another thing we've done is, there's something with a mouse here. Oh, I know, I have to import it, I have to bring it in. We've made a lot of options for getting the sub-D to snug down to the reference mesh. So I'm going to pull my reference mesh in first. So PS OBJ reference mesh. And I want my mouse reference mesh. And there's kind of a nice, boring, but smooth and nice shape. And then I've already got my, I've already got a sub-D. Well, it's not a sub-D quite yet, but I've already modeled something. If I went in and tried to quad wrap this, it's a pretty heavy little mesh here. You can see that, yeah, you know, if you're just going to convert it, it would probably be fine, but it's not terribly useful if you were planning on doing a lot of alteration on it. So I'm going to cancel that. And I'm going to go back into open, and I want an OBJ. And one of the things I need to make sure I do before that, though, is I want to open up my import options and make sure it's going to import into the current document. Otherwise, if I tried to open it now, it would open a whole new part file. So that one's ready, and I want to do control mesh, kind of, oh, subdivision mesh. Oh, didn't I bring that in as a reference mesh? I could have sworn I did. I think I did. Okay, here it is, it's in here. Okay, so here's the imported one. And pretty deep in there. Let's see if we can, I have a feeling that, yeah, I think I do have that was the reference mesh, because I brought it in as reference mesh. But something may not have worked on this. So let's see here. No, I might have hit the wrong button on that one. Let's go, let's do this again.
Just import the reference mesh.
Yeah, okay, but I would want to delete that. No, that is it. Okay, I think I did something wrong here, so I'm going to close. Yeah, always safer to start clean. So I'm going to do an open. I'm bringing in my OBJ reference mesh first. Oops, I hit the wrong button. So I'm bringing in my reference mesh here. And then I'll go ahead and bring my other one in this way. It should go in either way, but we'll just do it differently this time. So import sub-D mesh on that. There's my control mesh. And you can see it's sitting there. We can kind of see through to the reference mesh. And it's not very close, but that's fine because all we want to do here at this point is constrain it. And now we're going to do our shrink wrap, which is going to force it out to the reference mesh. So right now there's 0 subdivisions, so it's not doing too good of a job. So we just want to bump that up. You see, every time I add a subdivision, it's going to get closer to the reference mesh. And 2 is pretty good. So there we go. And I could, at this point, on my default shrink wrap, say, okay, this is it. This is all I need. And I could convert it. And there we go. Ready to go. Now, the other 2 options we've got on this are, and I'll go ahead and I'll clear my shrink wrap, and we'll go ahead and shrink wrap it again. And we've got 2 options here. Let's bump up our subdivisions again, so we're back up to something that looks right. I can bake the mesh into the offset. In other words, it's going to convert all the stuff that's under the hood. It's going to convert it into geometry that you could export now as is. You could export the sub-D, or at this point, you now have full power to model it. So if I wanted to extrude it and maybe do some other stuff, we could do that. So it's the original shape until you start modeling it, and very quick because it's no longer constrained to anything. And so that's one of our options. Now let's undo. And we'll go ahead and shrink wrap it again, and I'll show you the final option on this. Do 2 subdivisions again. And the other thing we can do is we can bake it into level of detail. And when we do that and accept, it looks the same as before. It's still it's no longer constrained to the reference mesh, but it retains the shape because all of that detail was added in level of detail, which means I can now go into our LOD tools and I can say let's go to level of detail 2, and there all that detail is. And I can go in and I can select some stuff. I can't do an extrude. The only thing you can do in level of detail is transform, move, rotate, or scale. But it's going to add that transform to the transform that left it on the actual reference mesh. And if I exit my level of detail, you can see it retains that because that's on a lower level. It's a little bit chunky looking, so sometimes if you're working at higher levels, you might want to bump up your subdivision level 1. But the nice thing about working in level of detail is I could now take vertices. Let's do vertices here. I'm going to take these 3 vertices, and as I move them, you'll see that they're retaining the detail that was added in the other levels, like so. So that gives you a lot more power to go ahead and modify an object that you started out with a scan mesh from. So let's see here. So that's another one of the really nice ones. Another one I want to show you, and I can't remember if we had taken this tool out or if it just wasn't used much, but Yes. Okay, so let's close this guy. So this is another retopo, an RE thing, and it is, which one is it? Sheet metal. There we go. I've already started working on it. And you might say, well, why don't you try the autofill on it? And if you did autofill on something with edges like this, it doesn't recognize, it doesn't say, oh, this is going at this angle, so I'm going to send a line of faces out at that angle. So sometimes the edges aren't as clean as you'd really like them on an open piece, a surface. So we've got some other stuff that we really like to use here. And one of them is paint faces. And we've new and improved it. So I can go ahead and it's going to pull its original shape. Come on, let's start. It's going to pull its original size from the face that I started over. You can see I'm not doing a terribly good job pulling it straight, but now watch this. If I hit my shift key right about here, it straightens right out. And I can come down here. I'm going to walk around I'm not walking very good this time, but if I go around the outside of this hole and connect it up, and then say maybe I come down over here, I go, okay, that's all the handwork I want to do. So now I'm going to go ahead and I could use this, actually, if I was over here, I should be in this one. I'll select an edge. I could use this quad fill, but it doesn't respect faces, so I want to use the smart fill because it will stick the new faces down to our reference mesh. And you can see how fast that is. We'll go over this one, see how it does over here. We call this one smart fill, by the way. And if we look at it, so that's not bad for like a click and watch it fill. If we look at it, we decide, well, maybe this part could be better in here. So you could go in maybe and select some of these guys. And you could even go over and try our quad eyes on them. And in some cases, it's going to give you a much better configuration of them. But much nicer than doing everything by hand. And once again, you can go ahead. I'm going to turn off the visibility of the vertices and edges. And then we'll go ahead and shrink wrap it on. There's 0 iterations, 1, 2, and at some point you start seeing all the warts and stuff. But that's a pretty quick way to retopologize a scan. Okay, so let's get out of this guy. And the last thing I want to show you guys before we open this up to questions is, oops, I think I dropped something on here. Let's close. Don't save. The last thing I want to show you is something that SolidWorks has been working on. I don't know how many of you guys are familiar with it, but it's a means of optimization on fairly blocky models to get them to be as thin, use as little material and retain as much strength. And right now it just leaves sort of a blocky mesh. And that's when we can bring our power surfacing into play. So I'm just going to show you one of their little test guys here. So I want to import reference mesh. I have to import it through here because it's an STL and they've got STL tied up somewhere else. Okay, so I'm going to bring this guy in, basketball hoop. This feature, by the way, for SolidWorks is a 2018 feature that they're working on actively right now. So you can see this, I don't have the original of this one, so I couldn't tell you what it looks like, but it was probably just a bunch of sharp edged squarish pieces. But this is what it optimized down to. And we can use our quad wrap on this. And we can decide, well, it's really kind of inside here, so maybe I want a little more accurate than that. And I'm going to go down to I'm going to go down to 1.5 on this. And there we go. I'll go ahead and turn off the vertices. That'll save us some computation time. And I might look at this, and I really don't know what their point is on this one. I think it's just a model. But if, say, you decided that you wanted to retain the sharp edges on here, we could go in and select a face, and we've got advanced expand now that really is a nice way for selecting things. I use it a lot. It's going to select 5 rows out. I've got it set to 15 degrees. I might drop that down to 10 for this piece. And then I can start hitting the expand. I keep clicking it. So it's going to stop at that angle. So I got that much. I've got it. And now I can give it a fully weighted or hard edge. Come any second. There it is. So there's a hard edge. And watch what it'll do to this end piece. This is the part I really like. So I'm going to go select these guys. And maybe I'll bump my degrees up to maybe 15. And I'll hit expand. I probably could have gotten a little bit higher on that, but I'll select some by hand. I can do a little bit of handwork every now and then. Won't kill me. And now I'll go ahead and hard edge these guys. And there we go. And you're thinking, well, I didn't see much change. And the thing is, it's still kind of sitting back there, but watch what happens when I pull this forward now towards the reference mesh. It just sharpens right up. Like so. And if it's, I can see a little bit here where it's not all the way out, so I could scale these out a little bit, and there it goes. So we've got a lot of nice ways we can tidy things up, retain things, and basically not have to do a lot of fancy surface modeling or even sub-D modeling for that matter on one of their optimized pieces. Okay, so I think probably it's time to open up to questions now. So I think I'm going to let Dave come along in here with the speakerphone so we can both talk to you guys at the same time.
Great. So there are no questions so far, but so please, you know, don't be shy and ask away. And I want to thank Sue for showing us all these great new features and improvements. It was a while since you came on the Novedge webinar series, so this is very exciting. Still no question, but I hear a few sounds coming from you guys. And yeah, we'll hang on a couple of extra minutes. Ask anything. How's the weather today in Southern California, Sue?
So the weather is beautiful here, Barbara.
Wonderful.
Beautiful Southern California weather.
Wonderful. So here's the first question. At some point you showed us OBJ imports. One was with reference. What is the difference?
Between OBJ and STL?
I guess so. So one was imports and one with reference.
So
two types of imports.
Okay, so
right?
You can import sub-D geometry. If someone has made a sub-D model from, say, Modo or Maya or 3ds Max, we can import those directly as sub-D models. If you're just importing a scan mesh that you want to retopologize into SolidWorks geometry, then you can import that as a reference and then retopologize it. So basically, it's just the difference between importing something that's already sub-D geometry and importing something that's just a non-intelligent mesh.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
It does to me, but hopefully Bonifacio is agreeing with me. So, and that's it. So, let us know if that question was answered to your liking, Bonifacio. Otherwise, I think we're good. Yes, it does. Yes, completely satisfying. And yes, it does. If you're using other applications with heavy meshes, I guess, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Typically, other applications like Modo or Maya, they'll create sub-D meshes when you're modeling, so you can just import those directly into SolidWorks using our OBJ importer.
As easy as that. That's wonderful. All right. Well, while we wait for other questions, I'm gonna switch to my screen, if you guys don't mind, to thank everybody for joining us today. We're still hanging on a few minutes, so if you come up with question, please let us know. But I also want to make sure you know where you can get Power Surfacing RE for SolidWorks on our catalog. So go to novedge.com and we have tabs with brands, or you can just type in the products and it will pop up immediately. And our website is very intuitive, and you can always call us if you need to talk to anybody, or if you need any help and you're not sure about what product you're gonna need for what. So give us a call. We're always here for you. And I don't see any more questions. So I would like to also thank you again. Let us know, yes, if you have any question, or if you want to keep in touch with Novedge, you can follow us on Facebook, Google Plus, or Twitter. In 2 weeks, we'll have another webinar coming up for SPAC, creating large-scale environments. And wait there. Okay, no, there's no more question, but they're just thanking us for the webinar. And I would like to thank you guys and remind everybody that this recording will be posted on our YouTube and Vimeo channels as early as this afternoon. So it was great talking to you again, David and Sue, and thank you for coming back to our Novedge webinar series. Looking forward to your next presentation already. Have a great day, everybody. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.